Nice to be back in Alachua for a whole week. And nice topic. Somehow I've on this role of Krishna in Vrindavan and Krishna in Vrindavan and Krishna's Vraja Lila and Krishna in Vrindavan. Like 3 months. I'm starting to like it in Vrindavan. This is the sound vibration. And something about, I'm sure that all the places the color is going to come out like this. On my screen it's a deep purple, or excuse me, it's a deep red, like a blood red. Dark red. And that's like a stop sign. Different color. But you just imagine that's a nice color. So the pastime of the Kaliya Damana Lila comes in chapter 16. And it's nice to meditate on the sequence of things. Chapter 11, chapter 12, chapter 13. So each of those, because I've covered them so many times, each chapter title carries its own Shakti and its message. And the Kaliya Damana Lila takes place when Krishna was 6, which is obviously it's before the lifting of Govardhan Hill, but it's also after the amazing series of pastimes of. So here's the sequence. Krishna Janmashtami is coming, and from the time that Krishna was midnight taken across the river Jamuna to the eastern side, Gokul, to get away from Kamsa and to enact Krishna's pastimes of childhood. There were too many demons in Gokula, this one, that one, the other one, and so Upananda held a big meeting of the elders, and it was decided, he proposed, and then it was decided, and then the very same day everyone packed up and left. They went to the western side of the river Jamuna, from Gokul, then further away, west, is the ancestral home, but they didn't go to the ancestral home, they went in between to the forested area, particularly for the cows. And then Krishna's Vraja Lila happened there. So Gokul Lila first and Vraja Lila. So Krishna was 3 years, 3 months. And then he did some things when he was 3 years, 3 months. And the demons didn't stop, they kept coming. And then 4 years, 4 months, and was just after the Aghasura demon, that's chapter 12, came the Brahma Vimohan Lila, because Brahma Vimohan Lila happens immediately after, the same morning, because after killing of Aghasura, they had lunch. They hadn't had breakfast yet. They had late breakfast, picnic by the side of the river Jamuna. And then Brahma did what Brahma did, and Krishna showed Brahma what Krishna showed Brahma, and he offered his prayers, chapter 14. So in between, there's the Dhenukasura demon, And in this narration, there are two opinions amongst our acharyas. One of the opinions is the killing of Dhenukasura happened before the Kaliya Lila. Another opinion is it happened after. And they can sort it out, that's okay. And differences of opinion do happen even amongst our acharyas, but that's perfectly okay, it happens. And there's nice examples of that in scripture. And you're very respectful disagreements, but it's not consequential to the pastime. This is his age is essential. It's the Poganda age. That means he's just turning 6. And this is a nice chart showing the ages of Krishna. So over on the far, like at 9 o'clock, that's the Dhenukasura. Then the Kaliya Lila, that's just above. And then other things happened. Just very simple art. So there's a nice prayer by Rupa Goswami, and it's been recorded. So you see that little horn at the bottom? That means you're going to hear the recording. So just listen carefully. Did you know that was going to happen? You did. Okay, you can do it again. By the way, if you like the graphics, you can like her graphics because she did the graphics for all of this. And she's put a lot of energy into it. And just even this evening, some upgrade and some improvements. And so this is the first time. And there's sort of some glitches, but so glitches are fine. Translation. O Lord Krishna, with its crooked motions and the sharp fangs of its wicked desires, the great snake of my mind torments the entire world. Oh, powerful Lord, oh, crusher of Kaliya, please punish that snake with your dancing. please place on it the mark of your lotus feet. Very poetic. Now, in Puranas and Itihasas, there's different ways of looking at it. And the easiest way of looking at it is just the storyline. Whoops. The storyline. And then within the story, generally speaking, there's some teachings of Dharma, what's to be done, what's not to be done, what proper conduct, etc., embedded within it. And then there's some truths. Certainly, we're going to hear the wives of the Kaliya serpent, and then Kaliya himself state some of these truths about the personality of Godhead. And then ultimately there's rasa. And Krishna comes and he performs pastime for all of these reasons. At least my appreciation has grown to be outstanding and superlative, and what supersedes all other reasons is exchanging loving dealings with his associates. And even those who are opposed to him, he liberates them or delivers them or engages with them in a very merciful, affectionate way. Of course, it depends on the circumstances. But even with the demons, he grants them liberation. And different kinds of liberation depending upon the circumstance, depending upon whether they have come to render some service or just come to destroy him. But he still gives them liberation. Like, here's a nice example. In the pastime of Aghasura, when Krishna finishes him, there's many things that happen before that happens, but when that happens, the soul of Aghasura pops through because he suffocates, and the life airs can't move through his body. So there's a soft spot in the top of his head, and the soul pops out. And commentators say normally you can't see the soul, but Krishna arranged that people could see the soul of Aghasura. And very similar to Shishupal, the soul of Aghasura merged into the body of Krishna. Then there's a further detail that merging into the body of Krishna was not what it appeared to be. It appeared to be Sayuja Mukti, but our commentators explain he achieved Sarupya Mukti, a form like the Supreme Lord. But it wasn't a Sarupya Mukti in Goloka because he hadn't done any service. He wasn't eligible for Braja residence, whereas Putana did some service. She was a nasty lady, but she did some service. So she achieved what she achieved, and Aghasura achieved liberation in the Vaikuntha realm. That's a form like the Supreme Lord in the Vaikuntha realm. So Krishna's just very kind, even to inimical persons, and he grants them what he grants them according to their circumstance, etc. But it's a reciprocation of kindness, particularly with his devotees and the demigods, and the following pastime with Lord Brahma. And the kindness that he exhibits to Lord Brahma is just amazing. So there's a rasa dimension in all of Krishna's pastimes, particularly in his Braja Lila pastimes. And it takes Is everything okay? You want something? Why don't you stand up and tell her instead of hand motioning? They're saving a spot for you. We're just going to pause till you go and take the nice seat. And would you like to see the screen? Or would you like to not see the screen? We made it an extra chair for her. Okay. Look at this. It's got your name on it. Hare Krishna. Kaliya serpent. 6 classes on the Kaliya serpent. There's lots of details because there's some very wonderful prayers by the wives and then by Kaliya himself, and then there's many nice things, so it's going to take a while. So this is part 1. Krishna becomes captured in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. And so notice the verse number. This is still chapter 15. Once Krishna, surrounded by his boyfriends, went without Balaram to the river Yamuna, chapter 15. And Sanatana Goswami comments, one day he was wandering in Vrindavan at the end of his 6th year during the summer season. Summer means it's like really hot. This has something to do with drinking water from the river Jamuna when it was really hot. And it was poisonous water, so it's part of the pastime. He went without Balaram, since he, Krishna, knew that all the people of Vraja would enter the lake of Kaliya if Balaram was not there to prevent them, because he's strong. Spiritually strong and otherwise very, very strong. So Krishna wanted him to do that nice service, so he kept him home. He went without Balaram since he thought that Balaram would prevent him, Krishna, from entering the Jamuna, having been instructed by Yashoda to prevent Krishna from such rash behavior. Jiva Goswami's comment. The other boys surrounded him, coming close in competition of love. Is there competition in the spiritual world? Yeah, there's everything in the spiritual world. Almost everything. In order to see the beauty of his face and to follow Yashoda's affectionate order to do so to protect him. So Mother Yasoda likes to protect Krishna, so Balaram's supposed to, and the cowherd boys are supposed to, because she knows he's mischievous, and he gets himself into difficult situations sometimes. Though it would be proper to end this chapter, the killing of Dhenukha, the Sura pastime, at this point. Now this is Jiva Goswami commenting that he has a different opinion. It continues out of feelings of suffering caused by the confusion on remembering the incident of Kaliya, which actually happened previous to the killing of Dhenukha. Got it? No? I'll still do it slower. This is Jiva Goswami commenting the chronology of Shukadeva Goswami narrating events that took place in Vrindavan was out of sequence, according to Jiva Goswami. But it was out of sequence for a reason. And there's prior pastimes. There's this Kaliya Lila pastime is so Krishna's in difficulty. No, normally the cowherd boy is in difficulty and they call the Krishna help, or the something, 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 and helps. But here's Krishna's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. And who are they going to ask for help? So it's very distressful. He's their life and soul, and he's in the coils of this poisonous serpent. Giant guy. So it's very distressful. So Shukadeva Goswami, it's a very nice understanding. Would take a long time to explain it. I'll take a little bit of time to explain something that would take a long time to explain. There's a nice narration about after Vyasadeva received Narada's instructions and having compiled all the Vedas, written Vedanta Sutra, etc., he gave him an instruction what to do. And then he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. But he wanted to teach Srimad Bhagavatam to a proper person. And Shukadeva Goswami was the proper person. Because not only was Shukadeva Goswami a self-realized soul, not interested in anything material, thus he stayed in the womb of his mother for 16 years, but he was very profoundly a Krishna Bhakta, even before he was born, because when Krishna came and promised him, you'll be all right, come on out, you won't fall prey to Maya, come on, put your poor mother, come on out. So he came, and he left. But yeah, anyway, there's details and details. But Shukadeva Goswami, was a Rasika Bhakta, in short. See, he was the right person to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. And as he's reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, there's stages where he goes into trance. And the flow of narrating to Maharaj Parikshit, it gets interrupted by his trance reflection on what he's been narrating. And the trance reflection is largely, it's the it's three very special features of Krishna in Vrindavan and the associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. And he's such a Rasika Bhakta that he's narrating it in a responsible manner, but sometimes he gets so absorbed, he loses external faculties. Then he has to draw himself back and continue the narration. So the narrator, Shukadeva Goswami, is narrating this pastime that just happened. This is explaining, what Jiva Goswami is saying. Because the pastime was so horrific that it was painful to him to even narrate it. And so he just purposefully did the Dhenukasura, because that was just Krishna killing Dhenukasura. So he narrated Dhenukasura first, and then he narrated Kaliya afterwards, because it made it easier for him to talk about it. That's what he's saying. Now, there's another opinion. That's okay. Though Shukadev begins the story from the beginning, overcome because of his remembrance of the Kaliya Lila, he concludes the chapter 15 with only the introduction to the story. Now, Jiva Goswami is appreciating the Rasika nature of Shukadeva Goswami. And here's the next verse. At that time, the cows and cowherd boys, feeling acute distress from the glaring summer sun, drank the water from the Jamuna River, which is a natural thing to do, but it had been contaminated with poison. Still, we're in chapter 15. Now, further commentary. The cows, and then later, the boys drank the water. Though the cows tended to wander about because of thirst due to the summer heat, seeing the water from high on the bank, the cows ran into the water without knowing about the poison. The boys were so afflicted by the heat, but they knew the water was poisonous, but seeing that the cows had died, they also drank, wanting to give up their lives because they're attached to the cows. Thus, the cows are mentioned first, and the boys are mentioned second. The cows and the boys went ahead of Krishna a little, since they could not bear leaving him alone. That is, Krishna's watching all this happen, and he knows that Kali is in that part of the Jamuna River, and he knows what's going to happen, and they went ahead anyways. But they didn't go real far ahead because they couldn't go too far ahead because they couldn't bear separation from Krishna, but the heat of the summer sun was too much for them. As soon as they touched the poisonous water, the cows and boys lost their consciousness by the divine power of the Lord and fell lifeless at the water's edge. Nice painting. You see the Kaliya serpent in the background. Here's the boys, and Krishna's reviving the boys who had fallen as if dead. Another nice painting. I think this is an artificial intelligence painting. And there's the Kaliya serpent in the background. But still, it's a nice painting. Commentary. Looking at all the people in that condition who had no other Lord than him, without delay, he brought them to life. Krishna's a magician. Or, suddenly, Shukadeva Goswami felt the manifestation of affection. He glanced immediately, with a glance of greatest affection, a shower of nectar, because they had no other shelter. This could only be accomplished by the will of Krishna. No, the whole Lila is by the will of Krishna, but it's the reviving of people from the dead. Narada was able to do things like that sometimes too. Empowered personalities. But these are his dearmost cowherd boyfriends, eternal associates of Krishna. And eternal associates of Krishna, there's no question of their dying because they don't have a material body. That's another nice understanding. Here's a nice understanding. Krishna's form is Satchitananda Vigraha in full, and the cowherd boys are also Satchitananda Vigraha forms. They're fully spiritual like Krishna is fully spiritual. They undergo transformation as if they were born of material mother and father, and Krishna, as if born of a material mother and father, he grows as if he's like, performing in activities of a human, but his body is not material. And the cowherd boys are also not material. Would you like some evidence? No. Here's some evidence. Compliments of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. During the Brahma Vimohan Lila, or prior to the Brahma Vimohan Lila, when Brahma got this really bad idea that he was going to kidnap the cowherd boys and the calves. Notice we're speaking cows. He's already 6 years old, so he graduated from calves. Krishna understood his plan. Vishwanath explains. So what did Krishna do? Krishna had his Yogamaya potency conceal his eternal cowherd boys, and Krishna manifested instead exact replicas. There's a Sanskrit phrase right in the verse, they're material forms. Exact replicas. So now we have 2 cowherd boys. Then we're going to have 3 when Krishna manifests them. We'll do it again. 3 cowherd boy forms. 1, the originals, Yogamaya concealed, doesn't say where she took them, any more than where Agni took Sita. Doesn't say where Agni took Sita. Doesn't say where Yogamaya took the cowherd boys, but concealed them so people couldn't see them. No one could see them. Brahma couldn't see them. Krishna knew where they were because it was his Yogamaya potency that he instructed to do this. And Maya forms. So then when Brahma, so this is the detail. When Brahma kidnapped the Maya cowherd boys and put them in a cave and put them to sleep, our acharyas explained it's not possible. Brahma has material powers, but Brahma couldn't put the Satchitananda Vigraha cowherd boys to sleep. Yogamaya can do that, but Mahamaya, his mystic power is limited within the scope of the material energy. So he couldn't put them to sleep. So it was the Maya forms that were put to sleep. That's the logic, or the scriptural reference. It's a detail. And then, of course, Krishna manifested identical forms, number 3. Right? That was for another purpose. For 1 year, he was the son of the cowherd. He replaced the cowherd boys for 1 year, each one. And there's details and details of how that took place. And then after 1 year, Krishna withdrew his so many cowherd boys, and they entered again into his form. And the original cowherd boys, Yogamaya was instructed, put them back. And then when they put them back 1 year later to the day, they were sitting with Krishna, who still had the same lump of yogurt and rice in his hand, and saying, you haven't eaten anything, just have your lunch. So they're instructing him as if their experience was that no time had passed. They were unaware that for 1 year, their life and soul, Krishna, wasn't with them. They weren't feeling pain of separation by the Yogamaya potency's influence. And when Yogamaya potency was withdrawn, there they were with Krishna again. So all of that was just a little detour, that the forms lying and Krishna's bringing them back to life, they weren't dead anyways. Or, the same thing happened in the Aghasura demon pastime. They were in the mouth of the Aghasura demon, and they had fainted out of feelings of separation from Krishna, not being able to see him. And he felt compassion for them because he couldn't see them either. He knew what they were feeling. So then he rescued them. So it's the expanding and contracting and moving of his potencies it takes our acharyas to explain how the jigsaw fits together. But it's just, in principle, it's his Yogamaya potency acting to stimulate love amongst his associates. In this case, it's the cowherd boys and the cows. He's stimulating their love. He brought them back to a healthy condition, all at the same time, removing completely all fatigue and sorrow, because Krishna was the sole friend of the people of Vraja. and suffered their suffering. This is not astonishing because he is the Lord and Master of all yoga. All of the yogi's powers arise from a small portion of his powers. Or if he protects the yogis, how much more will he protect the people of Vraja? So Krishna saw the scene and he glanced over them, and by his glancing, Krishna's glance is very powerful. By his glance, material creation happens. By his glance, as if dead, they can't die, but as if dead, he brings them back to life. Regaining their full, this is the next verse. We're still in chapter 15. Regaining their full consciousness, the cows and boys stood up out of the water and began to look at one another in great astonishment. Like, what just happened? So that's astonishment, by the way, is a secondary rasa. Adbhuta rasa. It's a secondary rasa. So Krishna's reciprocating, they have their primary rasa, and he's stimulating a secondary rasa. So for a moment, the secondary rasa eclipses the primary rasa. They rose from the bank in great astonishment. We were dead. How did we come back to life? What medicine or mantra for removing poison was used? They looked at one another, saying with their eyes, "Friend, do you know? What's the secret?" This is Vishwanath. Then one friend answered with a glance, "I know the cause of our rescue. Listen, I remember the words of Gargacharya at the name-giving ceremony of Krishna and Balaram. This child will save you from all dangers very easily. This is the secret." Gargacharya did a whammy. He gave this benediction, so because Gargacharya gave a benediction, Krishna was able to do what Krishna did. That's how it happened. That's the secret. Saying this with his glance to the other boys, they all remembered with absorption the object Krishna. By this, they all became astonished. I mean, there's the story, there's a storyline, there are different elements, but rasa is the most prominent of all the elements. There's a nice line drawing or black and white painting of the same. Next verse. O king, Maharaj Parikshit, the cowherd boys then considered that although they had drunk poison and in fact had died, simply by the merciful glance of Govinda, they had regained their lives and stood up by their own strength. Several commentaries, this is Jiva Goswami for starters, they surmised that it was the glance of mercy of the Lord of Gokula that brought them back to life, or they thought that they again had been rescued from death, as if, in the case of Aghasura, swallowing them by the grace of Govinda's glance. O king, this was applicable to you also. Yes? Maharaj Parikshit was rescued as if he was going to die, but the personality of Godhead, Govinda, saved him. Since the cause is only one, this is Sanatana Goswami, there is non-difference between the glance and recognition by the Lord. O king, for great devotees like you or Yudhisthira, there's no cause of auspiciousness except the mercy of the Lord. No, this isn't conversation, it's just commentary. And embedded within the statements of the verse, they're extracting emotion and messages and subtext, so forth like that. So now look at, we're at starting text, chapter 16. And there's the word Krishnam and Krishna and Krishnahi, Krishnahina. Shukadeva Goswami said, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, seeing that the river Yamuna had been contaminated by the black snake Kaliya, desired to purify the river, and thus the Lord banished him from it. No, it took a whole chapter to do it, but it's summarizing the chapter. It comes at the end of chapter 16. He banished him. So Krishna, that's the river Jamuna. And Krishna, that's Krishna himself. And Krishna Ahina, that's the black serpent. Krishna Ahina. He's chanting Krishna's name in different ways. Here's Sridhar Swami's commentary. After the pastime of killing the demon in the form of a donkey, that's Dhenukasura, and eating the fruits of the palm trees, the Lord felt satisfied. Being as he is, the reservoir of all fine arts, he engaged himself in dancing upon the stage of the hoods of the Kaliya. So he had a big meal and then he wants to dance. Sridhar Swami. The whole history of Sridhar Swami is also very fascinating. Yamuna is Krishna, or Krishna, on account of her color, and also by name, and thus she is the Lord's dear friend. Notice in the painting, there she is, same color as Krishna, so her name is Krishna. Thus, he had to take action when she was contaminated with poison, since she was a dear friend. Krishna did not act simply for her benefit, but for everyone's benefit, since Krishna takes away, he takes away all sorrows. So there was a problem. The poisonous water of the river Jamuna, and Krishna wasn't going to just rescue the cowherd boys and walk away. He's going to uproot the problem. But the problem is Kaliya himself. And Krishna knows the history. We'll hear the history at the very end of this narration. The whole universe would be benefited by the rescue of such a great holy place of Vraja, since people could drink the water. Kaliya would also be benefited. Krishna, this is commentary, Krishna could perform such acts because he was able, she was hurried, to do many things by one act. And if I had more time, I would have edited these. Yeah, there's some glitches in this part. Sarpa, what's that? There's a serpent, right? Means a creature that crawls about. Krishna prevented him from going anywhere else or going elsewhere. It contained him. So Maharaj Parikshit asked a question following that opening statement. Please explain how Krishna chastised Kaliya within Yamuna. How was Kaliya living there for so many ages? That comes at the end of the chapter. The topics about the Lord in Vrindavan is never satiating. There's several times where Shukadeva Goswami is being asked by Maharaj Parikshit certain things that he Shukadev, knows, he already knows. And he just stops in the midst of, before answering, saying, Shukadev, to Maharaj Parikshit, you're such a devotee. You taste, it's rasa, you taste the topics of Krishna so nicely that it's as if you never heard them before. You taste new taste each time you hear. Now, many of us, probably all of us in the room, know the pastime. Then hearing the pastime embellished by the commentary of our acharyas makes it more relishable and more relishable. But supposing we don't have the advantage of our great acharyas, we just have the verses of Shukadeva Goswami speaking with Maharaj Parikshit. Largely that was the case, as we know, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, along with Sankirtan, he would daily hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Daily he would hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And who did he hear from? Gadadhar Pandit. And who's Gadadhar Pandit? Radharani. Wow. What was that like? No commentary of acharyas, no nice pictures, none of that. Just hearing. And hearing for hours every day, and hearing the pastime again, and hearing the pastime again. You know that Chaitanya Bhagavat says when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would hear the Dhruva Maharaj story, he would say it again, say it again. It's ever fresh. It's not Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. It's the pure devotee coming to the stage, in Dhruva's case, coming to the stage of pure devotion, or in Prahlad Maharaj, being such a pure devotee despite the horrible circumstances. And just the subtleties of their devotion is so enlivening. Unfortunately, we only have Nrsimha Chaturdashi once a year, but it's a really nice pastime. They hear the details and hear it again and hear it again and hear it again and hear it again. Maybe someday some of you will take sannyas and you'll have the experience of being in different places around Nrsimha Chaturdashi and saying it again and saying it again, and it's really nice. It's really nice. But you don't have to be a sannyasi to do that, but at least the traveling part makes it easy. Look at this. Here's text number 3 from chapter 16. Gopalodara Charitam. Gopal Udara Charitam means normally the pleasure-giving pastimes of Krishna born in a cowherd family. So that's the straightforward meaning. There's other meanings, and our acharyas like to look at the other meanings. Go can refer to the senses of the devotees. Go, pala, means the nourisher of the devotee's senses. Udara means giving happiness. Then there's another meaning. Thus, Gopal Udara Charitam can also mean the pastimes which bring joy and nourish the senses of the devotee. Sanatana Goswami asks, who is satisfied with one taste of the pastimes, which nourish the senses of the hearer and bring joy to the heart? Because this story will give you great suffering, I have told it only in brief. That means Krishna is wrapped up in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. Grief. These are sweet stories of the Lord, full of powers, completely perfect and independent as a cowherd, most excellent, or giving happiness, udara. They cannot counteract great suffering equal to death. These are a medicine to counteract all suffering. Sanatana Goswami's commentary. You know, the nature of material existence is suffering. It's certified. Krishna. It is designed as a place of limitedness and suffering. The suffering, it doesn't stop, but it's the varieties of suffering, and this suffering stops, another suffering starts. But bhavosara chotra manobi rama, the medicine for the disease of material suffering is what we're doing. And that's what Sanatana Goswami is depicting. And then here, Jiva Goswami adds, one can tolerate the suffering because of the three qualities, because he is Bhagavan and full of powers. The Lord's suffering does not actually exist. You got it? You sure? He's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. He's not suffering. It looks like suffering. Who's suffering? The people that see him in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. So then that's another secondary rasa. Dread. And they want to enter the river Jamuna and give up their life, and Balaram stops them because he's very strong. Because he acts by the desire of his devotees, these actions are done as play, as by the master play. There's no suffering for the Lord. Because he follows the desire of the devotee, he is always happy in all in all situations. Okay, so now here comes a description of how Krishna is going to subdue Kaliya. He sees the necessity. Here's the next verse. Within the river Kalindi was a lake inhabited by the serpent Kaliya, whose fiery poison constantly heated and boiled its waters. Now there's a long history of how this happened. He had his abode, he had like a little place within the river that was not moved by the flow of the river. We'll hear about it as we go along. The lake was quite wide, 8 miles across at some points. The water in the lake was very deep, and, like the immovable depths of the ocean, could not be agitated. Approaching the lake was difficult, so it's a lake within the river. For its shores were covered with holes in which serpents lived. So it's very difficult to access it, Jiva Goswami is explaining. Kaliya lived in a cave within the water by using powers to stop water from entering. By the mystical science of Jala Stamba, making solid items out of water. Did anybody know that one? Kaliya had built his own city within the lake. Zawi. And there's a long history of how that came to be also. But he's a mystical guy. The vapors thus created were so poisonous that birds flying over the contaminated lake would fall down into it. Simply by coming in contact with that poisonous breeze, all the vegetation and creatures on the shore died. People didn't want to go near his place. And he didn't want people to go near his place either. A lake within the Kalindi. This Kaliya lake was situated on its southern side of the Jamuna River, extending a distance of 1 yojana, that's 8 miles. Otherwise, the river, its current touched by the lake's poison, would have become unusable by persons residing in Mathura and other places. This quote from Harivamsa. So the river Jamuna flows along the course of both Vrindavan and Mathura. So the lake was so situated, although it was vast, it was situated in such a way that it couldn't contaminate the water used in Mathura, because that would have been a big problem. So what did Krishna do? Lord Krishna saw how the Kaliya serpent had polluted the Jamuna River with his terribly powerful poison. Krishna descended from the spiritual world specifically to subdue envious demons. So this is a nice artificial intelligence drawing. He's walking across the Kadamba tree, getting ready to jump into the Kaliya lake, and there you see the poison vapor rising from the Kaliya lake. And the cowherd boy is wondering, what's Krishna going to do? Therefore, the Lord immediately climbed up to the top of a very high Kadamba tree and prepared himself for battle. So there's a nice painting. He jumps in the lake. He tightened his belt, slapped his arms, and jumped in the poisonous water. Only the Kadamba tree remained unaffected because Garuda sat in this tree when taking nectar. So Garuda deposited some nectar on the tree, so the tree stood while all the other vegetation died. Compliments of Garuda. The tree remained there to get the blessing of the touch of Krishna's lotus feet in the future. And Jiva Goswami writes, he tied up his hair, ornaments, etc. Harivamsa says he bound his waistband tightly. He jumped into the water. So many of you have been to Vrindavan. Here's the tree, still standing. And there's this limb stretching out in the direction of the Jamuna River. And it's not necessarily that's the limb that Krishna jumped off of, but it's a nice limb. The Kadamba tree near the Kaliya lake was Krishna's tree. Commentary says, therefore, it alone did not wither, since it could remove the poison from others. One should understand that Krishna kept this tree as this place of his pastimes. So here he goes, jumping into the water from the Kadamba tree. Verse number 7. When the Supreme Lord landed in the Serpent's Lake, the snakes there became extremely agitated and began breathing heavily, further polluting it with volumes of poison. There's the Kaliya serpent seeing what's Krishna up to. The force of the Lord's entrance into the lake caused it to overflow on all sides, and poisonous, fearsome waves flooded the surrounding lands up to a distance of 100 bow lengths. I don't know how long bow length is, but like dangerous. But Krishna's not worried. His jumping into the water caused a shock, since he was the best of men. The lake became disturbed by the speed of the Lord, showing a little of his strength when he fell into the water. Looks like he's just playing. The force of Krishna jumping from the tree, this is Vishwanath. The force of Krishna jumping from the tree into the Yamuna raised huge, fearful, reddish-yellow waves with the poison. In all directions, there were waves 400 hands tall. I don't know how tall a hand is, but it looks like big. So when Krishna wants to be heavy, he can be really heavy. When Krishna wants to be light, he can be really light. He has mystic powers. When Krishna began sporting in the lake, like a lordly elephant, Kaliya heard these sounds. He understood that someone is trespassing in my lake. And he could not tolerate this and immediately came forward, which is exactly what Krishna wanted. Krishna began playing in the water by making musical sounds with the water. As he churned the water with his two arms, a thunderous roar arose. Hearing that sound, the snakes concluded that there must be some rebellion above their snake hole houses. It worked. Krishna had playful movements, Vikrama, like a mad elephant in the water. Or he had special powers, Vikrama, even in his little toe, greater than a mad elephant. So here comes Kaliya confronting Krishna. You came into my lake. Kaliya saw Krishna, who wore a yellow silken garment. He was very delicate. His attractive body was shining like a glowing cloud. His chest bore the mark of Srivatsa. This is a directly verse by Shukadev. The Lord was playing fearlessly, his face smiling beautifully and his feet resembling the whirl of a lotus flower. Now he's already dancing in this painting, but it hasn't happened yet. Despite his wonderful appearance, the envious Kaliya furiously bit him on the chest and then completely enwrapped him in his coils. Vishwanath comments, his form, although most attractive to see, bestowing happiness, appeared to Kaliya just the opposite. Because he was wicked, Kaliya acted this way, Jiva Goswami. To show the great offense of Kaliya, Shukadev, taking the mood of the people of Vraja, laments and describes the beauty of Krishna. Krishna was playing in the water because he was without fear of others. This indicates Kaliya had no intelligence. You like this painting because here it comes again. The word snake literally means he who hears through his eyes. Huh? That's what snake means? Chakshu Shravana, or Chakshu Shrava. He had no ears to hear good instruction. we can hear through his eyes. He wrapped Krishna in his body, which looked like an arm. Thus, the snake is called Bhoga, or Bhujanga. Here, Bhujanya means the snake's coil. In actuality, however, his biting the Lord upon his heart, upon the heart, should be understood as his heartily kissing the Lord's limbs. Well, Sanatana Goswami has an interesting interpretation. His covering him with his snake body should be understood as his firmly embracing all of the Lord's limbs. Therefore, with anger means as if with anger. But actually, she was really hurried. It was with pure love. This is because the Lord was the most worthy of being seen. Now, Sanatana Goswami has a very interesting take on all of this particular slide. Because Kaliya is not favorable. I mean, he'll become favorable, but he's a heavily contaminated personality. There's a nice understanding, amongst many nice understandings. Kaliya somehow or another had wives that were pure devotees. It doesn't say how that happened. It doesn't say why the wife stayed with this guy that was like so inimical. But they were pure devotees. And because he's married or had wives that were pure devotees, he benefited from their pure devotion. It doesn't say, he sat down and gave a Bhagavatam class or something, but they carried with them and gave to him their devotion, their pure devotion. They're pure devotees. And wait till you hear their prayers. They're really elevated personalities. So he had something with, in addition to all the nastiness, there was something within him that was elevated because of, minimally at least, because of their association. Now, we'll go back to what he just has written. He was kissing the Lord's limbs. Really? His covering him with his snake body should be understood as embracing all the Lord's limbs. Therefore, with anger, quote unquote, means as if with anger, but actually it was with pure love. This is because, in bold letters, this is because the Lord was the most worthy of being seen. Now, to unpack what Sanatana Goswami is writing, it's just somehow within Kaliya, Sanatana Goswami is seeing the more devotional side to him. Although his behavior was nasty, there's something within the Kaliya serpent that Sanatana Goswami sees. And somehow Kaliya has this capacity of recognizing he's seeing Krishna before him. This description is in the previous verse. And he's attracted. But then, as if in anger, he bites him. A lover biting a beloved? Sanatana Goswami has very high vision. Look, here's another verse. This is the next to the last verse. This is Rupa Goswami verse glorifying this pastime. Let's see how it works.
Kaliyasya Bhanaratna Kuttimam Dayan Padasaroja Bhattanai Mangalani Vitanotu Tandave Panditastava Shikhanda Shekhara.
May Lord Krishna, who wears a peacock feather crown and is the expert dancer who, with his lotus feet, kicked the jeweled hoods of Kaliya, grant auspiciousness to you. So these are nice prayers, along with all of what Rupa Goswami wrote. He's poetic, and spontaneously, who can say how, what was the circumstance of his composing these prayers? But it's a very, very nice way of meditating upon Krishna's pastime. This particular section, there's several of these prayers by Rupa Goswami, meditating on the pastime and experiencing what he's experiencing. And a deep appreciation for Krishna. In particular, the kindness that he showed to Kaliya, kicking his hoods, marking his hoods with his lotus feet. But before that happens, there's this scene. And notice on the far left, that's the residents of Vrindavan, and they see Krishna in the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. And they're grief-stricken. This is the sorrow part. Okay. So a different way of appreciating the Kaliya pastime, yes? And I wish you could see the colors that I'm seeing on my screen. This, dark, dark, dark red, almost maroon-like color. I'll show you. Well, you can't see. I'm sorry. Any discussion? The best part of any discussion here is, or the presentation is the discussion part.
I remember when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, he told Gadadhar Pandit to teach Bhagavatam to Srinivas Acharya. And you were mentioning that today. And Srinivas Acharya, when he came, of course, in deep separation because Mahaprabhu left by that time. And then Gadadhar Prabhu revealed to him that I wanted to also leave, but Lord Chaitanya told me, I have to teach you Bhagavatam and then I can leave.
Oh.
But the Bhagavatam that I have to teach you is not readable.
There's too many tears.
Yes, tears. It's soaked completely. So my question is what was their discussion was if the Bhagavatam page could not be turned?
Oh, you bringing up the pastime, but we're not giving the punchline. That's not fair.
I have another question also, Maharaj.
I'm going to give you a homework assignment. You find out the answer to your question. Because there must be somewhere some commentary by someone saying the answer to that question. You've got a whole week.
Okay.
But it's a nice question. So what was he able to read if it's everything is soaked? And how is he going to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's instruction if he can't read the Bhagavatam because it's soaked?
That's very true.
Okay.
I'll do some research.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll find something.
But just to curious, Maharaj, the wives of Kaliya, they are such a
Yeah.
great devotee.
Well,
As you mentioned that there is no details. I wonder when they received the Kostobo jewels that they gave Krishna as a gift. Where in the world Kostobo jewel came to in their hand?
Well, that's another question. It's, you know, the Leela. Let's do this. Is it that before Krishna received the Kastuba jewel from them, he didn't have one?
He always
Okay.
okay. How did the mystery happen that it is in the possession of the wives?
But he already had it, so how can it be in their
He
possession?
was not born with it. The baby is not born with the jewels.
But where did he get jewels from? From his mother. She gave him so many jewels. Isn't it? Yeah.
But Kosovo jewel is very fascinating because this biggest conflict among the Vaishnava opinion about the soul's spiritual form has something to do with the big deal with the Kosovo jewel.
This is very esoteric.
I'll send you the reference, Maharaj. It's very fascinating.
Okay.
Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Oh,
Hare
over
Krishna.
there.
Hare
Hey.
Krishna. I don't have a very good memory like Pran Govinda Prabhu,
But
I have read that there's a commentary, and I believe it's Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because I haven't read that many commentaries, that he comments that when Krishna climbed up that Kadamba tree and jumped into the Jamuna, the Kastuba jewel he was wearing, but it fell off his neck and it fell into the treasure chest of the Kaliya wives. And then when Krishna came out and they offered him jewels, they thought they were giving him one of their jewels, but that was, I believe it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but maybe Pran Govinda can also research that. But
that's fascinating.
I heard it from somebody.
That's fascinating.
I have another question. Can I ask that now?
I'm just still relishing this one. No, because Pran Govinda is going to ask, when Krishna was wearing the Kastuba gem, and he jumped from the Kadamba tree, where did he get the Kastuba gem?
Yeah. He was not born with it. There was no record he was born with Kostovo jewel.
Well, let's see if Vishwanath has the comment of where did he get it from when he jumped from the Kadamba tree. But that shouldn't be at all a difficult item to research.
For someone who has a big brain, it's not difficult.
No, it's just have a good computer.
And
I'll volunteer to research.
Jai, thank you.
And you know, it's just here's how you do it. You have like super duper Veda-based systems. Oh, you know, specifically, Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj has compiled and has, you know, kind of like gives permission to certain people who doesn't want it to circulate. So there, you know, you just put a click on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and put in Kastuba gem or Kastuba gem Kadamba tree. You know, it's like easy for lazy people, you know, that have Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj's database. Yeah, Prem, you send me a little reminder. I mean, you'll do it anyway, but she's probably doing it right now. Okay, next.
You call I believe the very first slide of your presentation tonight, and perhaps the very last slide was a prayer by Srila Rupa Goswami from that Asta something something. And is that available? And is it all only on the Kaliya Lila pastimes, those prayers? They were very beautiful.
Say it. And so her question, she had two-part question. Is it available? The answer is available. She found it somewhere. And you can have a chat with her and she'll tell you where she found it. You want to add to this question? Okay. Age before beauty. Ragamika. You're the beauty, by the way. In case you didn't know.
Shri, that's why she's Shri. Shri Vrindavan. So Gargacharya, on one slide, it stated he said that this child will
Save you all
from danger. But you said that Gargacharya gave that blessing.
Yeah.
So
he made a prediction, but you can say blessing or prediction. Either way. Either way.
I know the verse, Maharaj, in case there's a famous verse. Narayana Guna Same, Gargacharya at the name giving ceremony.
But so now,
yeah,
the question that's being raised, not which is the verse number or name, but was it a blessing or was it a prediction? Now, normally, name giving is a prediction, but it can also be a blessing. You know, he's a very gifted personality, and he can give blessings, no problem. You're next.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I was just wondering that, Kaliya did so many, like what he did with the poison, so many Brajvasis were affected.
Yes.
Died, and the cows are getting killed.
Yes.
He created so much havoc, but Krishna did not kill him.
No.
So the Acharya say something about that? Why Krishna did not kill Kaliya while other demons were killed for lesser evil?
But he purified him rather than killed him. He purified him. Kali was very stubborn. You know, sometimes Krishna just touches somebody with his lotus feet and zap, they're purified. Kali was a tough guy. He like smashed him and smashed him and smashed him and smashed him. And when he was raised his foot, he'd smash him. And in the end, he didn't kill him. He purified him.
Why? Why didn't he kill him? He could have killed him like...
But the next question is, why didn't he kill him? Because there's something devotional within him that Krishna knew. And where did he get that something devotional that was in him, although he did all this bad stuff, poison, and that's his wives.
Right.
Blessed are good wives. So, Ramia. Wait a minute, wait. You just wait your turn.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj. At the beginning, you were talking about like the sequence of the different Leelas.
Yes.
And the one thing I was a little unclear is like the Brahma Vimohan Leela.
Yeah.
It actually spans over a whole year.
Well, no, the pastime is one day, but the consequence was over the rest of the year.
Oh, I see. So when he came back, that's a
No.
year later?
No. When he came back was a moment.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just do it again. The sequence. Brahma had a bad idea. Krishna knew about his bad idea before he did it, because he's omniscient. And so Krishna did what Krishna did, and Brahma stole the Maya cowherd boys, and when he put them in the cave and put them to sleep, specifically, he put them to sleep. And he came back. Then there's this whole discussion about one moment at Brahma's time is 1 year on earth.
Right. So Krishna's age changes then?
Yes, but that's a whole other explanation. Yes, in the course, little boys in the course of a year, they don't keep the same feature. Their features change in the course of a year, little boys.
But at both points, it was Balaram's birthday.
There are three different explanations. One of them, one of the three explanations, it was his birthday.
Oh.
But there's two other explanations. Besides, it was his birthday.
Because in the Kaliya pastime is also Balaram's birthday.
It wasn't his birthday. There's again, it wasn't. One explanation was his birthday. Another explanation was, you'll hear it coming up. It's coming up. But, Rohini wanted to do some rituals for him, for his auspiciousness, so she had him stay back.
I see. 'Cause I thought I had heard, I don't know where, but that they were celebrating Balaram's birthday every month. Some kind of ceremony.
That's certainly possible. But, celebrating his birthday every month is another option out of the many options of why he wasn't there. The main reason is Krishna didn't want him to be present.
Okay. I guess so. Where I got confused is Brahma Vimohan Lila, then a year later has to be Kaliya's?
No, because he's 6 years old. The Brahma Vimohan Lila started when he was 4 years, 4 months. Vishwanath says he was 5, and then he became 6. But, something in that range. So there's not exactly
Right.
all of our acharyas agree with how old Krishna was. But it is stated, as you I'm sure you picked up on it, this Kaliya Lila is when he's 6. And the Brahma Vimohan Lila is not when he's 6. It's 1 year before that, at least. 1 year and who knows how many months.
So on the different acharyas comment, which would you say gives the most insight into this?
Well, they differ. My answer to your question is there are standard pictures, and then there's some variations amongst the standard pictures.
Okay.
Jiva Goswami gives very definitive breakdown. Very definitive. But then there's others that say that, for example, Vishwanath says slightly different.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you wanted to add something.
No, to answer to Mother, beautiful question that I remember reading many years back that in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami Pada explains that conditioned soul versus Nitya Siddha, who is more fortunate. So Gurura is Nitya Siddha and Kaliya is a conditioned soul. Then he became spiritualized. But in a estimation, who got the highest Rasa Adhikar or eligibility to release the highest, Kaliya went 1,000 million times more than Garuda, because while Krishna was dancing on Kaliya's hoods, he had some other mind about it. And later on, those hoods, there was 101 hoods and 1,000, those.
Yeah.
And those became the wonderful stage for the gopis to dance. That's why his body never changed. Krishna wanted to create this wonderful Rasa Lila on the hoods of Kaliya.
That's Sanatana Goswami for you. So Kaliya is more fortunate than Nitya Siddha is.
According to me.
According to you, or according to
Excited.
according to Brihad Bhagavatamrita,
Yes.
or according to you?
According to Brihad Bhagavatam,
Okay.
conditions, so I'm excited.
Well, you got to get Krishna to dance on your hoods. Yes, Richa Guranga.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for this wonderful pastime.
Yeah, you can thank Krishna. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Maharaj, you mentioned that when Krishna was bound within the coils of Kaliya, because he was not suffering, but then Krishna does this pastime to fulfill the desires of his devotees.
Yeah.
But then, was it the desire of the devotees to see Krishna being captured?
No.
Usually it is. So what is that?
It was a secondary rasa. Their desire was, but Krishna knows best. That is, love. When there's some danger, the love amplifies. Just like this, when there's separation, the love amplifies. So it was a lila to give them a special kind of secondary rasa love. It's rasa. It's lila, but it's rasa. And they weren't wanting it. Krishna wanted them to experience a heightened kind of love. But then to protect them, Balaram had to be not with him. So he made this, that, and the other arrangements so that Balaram wouldn't be there and Balaram could stop them. And Balaram stopped them. Is that okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Yeah, Ragatmika.
Will we be hearing the
What's that?
words of the wives?
In the future.
Oh, it's coming attractions.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm totally intrigued because how you said, how could these ladies stay with this guy?
Oh, we're going to
And
sing
they're
it
pure
twice.
devotees.
We're going to sing it twice
Oh, great. Okay.
and then explain it.
I was wondering, like this commentary of Sanatan Goswami about Kaliya, like kissing the limbs or embracing and so on. You mentioned that he was seeing like a devotional side of Kaliya, but I was just wondering, because there's many places in the Bhagavatam when the demons are, using whatever curse words or swear words or speaking negatively about Krishna, then our acharyas
Turn it around the other way.
turning it around the other way because, Krishna is always glorious, and who can say something, other than the glory of Krishna, and Bhagavatam is completely meant to glorify Krishna. So I was wondering if Sanatan Goswami's spirit is similar in this, or was he
It could
seeing a
be.
devotional
It
side?
could be both. It could be what you said, could be what I said, or it could be both. Now let's just read what it says on the screen at the last line. Therefore, quote, with anger means as if with anger, but actually it was with pure love. Now that's not equivocal. Not just, different ways of reading the Sanskrit. Actually pure love. This is because the Lord was most worthy of being seen. Now, that last line could very well be what you said, a way of taking the Sanskrit and, something that's negative becomes something that's positive, depending upon how you break apart or how you translate the Sanskrit into English or into any language or to understand it. It can have dual meanings, in other words. But specifically, actually with pure love. So now, I don't have the Sanskrit commentary of Sanatana Goswami, but somebody probably can get the Sanskrit commentary from Sanatana Goswami. Do you know somebody that could research that, Pran?
I have the Sanskrit, but in Bengali language, not in Sanskrit language.
Okay.
But it is Sanskrit.
Okay. So, would you? So the verse. Here's the verse. 10:16:9. So it appears that this Sanatana Goswami commentary is 10:16:9. See if you can find from his commentary what it says, because this is some translator has translated it like this, and maybe you'll find that it doesn't say what this says, it says something else. You know, the limitations of language and the reliance upon commentators. Or excuse me, translators. Anyone over here? Okay. So we're going to end. There's an online question. Okay. Uh-oh.
This is from Ananya Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. As per Sanatan Goswami's commentary, is it like Kaliya knew that he would get liberated or purified only if he goes to Yamuna because Krishna would come and liberate him?
That's a wild speculation. Wah, 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 wah. Not likely.
Okay. She has another question. Is Yamuna's water is black because of Kaliya's poison?
No,
it was black
Yamuna's
before?
water is black because Kaliya's water, because the color is black. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.